the best way to get resolutions to it. And we've got the senior conflict resolution specialist here with us, David Falt. I want to say thank you for joining us on New Day.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we just want you to give a very brief overview as regards conflict and security challenges, the best ways, global standards to tackle it.
Well, the best way, there's no set tools for solution. You have to analyze the specifics, dynamics of the actual ongoing conflict you want to deal with, and then take it from there. And then it's design work that needs to be very comprehensive. You need to have a firm understanding of what exactly is shaping and changing the dynamics of the conflict, insurgency or terrorist activities. Once you have an understanding of that, you can create a set of solution tools in order to start dealing with it. But on a general basis, what is always good if you want to have a general advice, it is of course dialogue. And dialogue with that, I mean, of course, engaging with insurgents or the leadership of insurgent groups, trying to find that thread, establish a channel of communications with them, build confidence, and over time try to reach a settlement. For example, the issue with the Chibok girls, if it was possible to get on the ground, start negotiations with a third party, independent, private effort, maybe that's something worth trying. I don't know if it's been tried. Someone, a complete outsider that doesn't have any vested interest, that doesn't normally, it could be viewed as a deniable envoy. That might be a way to try going forward.
Okay, so in a case whereby you try to, employ dialogue and dialogue doesn't work, whereby the other party, the militants, the insurgents, they are refusing to, do dialogue.
Engage in dialogue?
Engage in dialogue. So what other way can you, at that point in time, what can be done?
Well, first of all, I'm not a military person, so but I guess that is kind of the next step, step of the process, that you would deal with it in whatever fashion counterterrorism operatives work. But from experience, around the world, a lot can be achieved with insurgent groups while they're still active in fighting with dialogue. And there's many good examples from that, from across, very, very significant and complicated, war zones or hostile war spots where, insurgency and terrorism is significant.
Okay, looking at the Nigerian situation, what would you say will be the best way you would advise the Nigerian government and security operatives to go?
Well, I'm not an expert on Nigeria, so that would be very pretentious of me to come with any suggestions to your government officials here and your counter-insurgency experts. I think they seem pretty capable. What I think is maybe missing is again, private, low-key dialogue efforts. There is always a possibility to work around these insurgent groups. So Boko Haram obviously have ties to AQAP, Akim, maybe to Al-Shabaab. These needs to be mapped and understood. Who are they talking to? Who else are they involved with? But obviously, Mali is somewhere, where the Al-Qaeda is operating, and it seems to be that there is significant, evidence of cooperation between all of these groups. We've seen it in other places. So maybe picking up a thread, a reference from some other group where dialogue has been successful before, and work your way back so that you actually establish a point of contact with the leadership here, and then take it from there. But it's a step-by-step process. It's not fast. You can also be more radical and basically go in with a special forces team and one or two mediators, and see, basically bully them into talks, or push yourself in there and inject yourself in put yourself in harm's way, inject yourself into the situation and say, look, we're suggesting a rendezvous point. No one is going to exchange bullets here. We want to see if we can talk. That's one way. The other general, if I can give one other general advice, is to seriously, that the Nigerian government takes it serious when it comes to prevent these groups from operating financially. And that is, dealing with remittance services, all sorts of, smuggling activities, etc., preventing kidnappings, not paying ransoms, negotiate, never pay ransoms. Fueling the criminal economy around us is one of the biggest challenges to get stopped. That's also a regional problem, where we have seen the French government paying vast amount of sums for citizens in Mali. They think it's justified. I think it's, that's part of, fueling the criminal, economy of kidnappings.
Okay, looking at the world, at the global stage, how do you think, which section of the globe do you think is more at risk as it is right now? Is more endangered?
Well, North Korea seemed to be kind of a boiling hotspot. That is obviously a problem. My expertise is very limited to the Horn of Africa, and Syria, Yemen. I try to follow Syria. I followed since 2011. Yemen, I follow a little bit on the sidelines. But obviously, Al-Shabaab and these movements here, South Sudan, the conflict in South Sudan. I think, you're under famine declaration here in Nigeria. That's a massive challenge, of course. That is something that could spiral the country out of control. The Delta is in shambles. That seems pretty shambolic to me from an environmental point of view. And maybe that's where you would start to clean up the Delta. Private initiative, again, I think is much, cheaper, much faster to deploy, and would actually happen. Oil companies need to be feeling secure if they're going to work there. So, maybe cleaning up the Delta, get the economy going again, will, prevent these insurgents groups from actually getting more momentum. If the economy plummets, you're in bad shape.
All right, let's just take you back to Sweden. Where what would you say has made Sweden a little bit looking safer than other European countries?
Well, Sweden hasn't been in war, forever. It's a neutral country. It's not a member of the NATO or any other defense alliance. Sadly, I think Sweden should be in NATO.
Do you think it's more they're going to gain more if they're in NATO?
Of course, security-wise, yeah. That's kind of a no-brainer to join NATO. We're in the EU. It's about peace and cooperation and trade. We should be in NATO also. I think that Sweden, in the back of their mind are expecting NATO to bail them out if something bad would happen. And that's piggybacking. Like that doesn't work. And I think with the Trump administration has made it very pretty bluntly clear. But Sweden has always been a very safe and kind of boring, country. But also, terrorists doesn't like it because it's cold 8 months of the year or, 6 months of the year. Bad weather prevents them from running around and blowing themselves up.
All right. Okay, your final take on our security operatives, personnel.
I think they change. Yeah, I think there are some challenges for them. The human rights abuse, accusations needs to be dealt with seriously, need to be addressed. They need to get a dialogue going with Amnesty that is, productive. Otherwise, it is a tough job wherever you do it in the world. You also have to pay massive respect to the people that put themselves in harm's way, from the armed service, the counterinsurgency specialists and counterterrorism soldiers that go in and clear these villages, etc., etc. I think the security or the justice apparatus here should, close the Jiva camp down. They should stop having these kind of blanket actions. It's not going to help anyone. They need to be very precise. They need to charge people with a crime or let them go. Otherwise, no one is going to take them seriously.
All right, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. It was nice having you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, the program is still new day, and we'll be wrapping up the show right after now. Just stay with us.